Getting very close to the end of the meditation now. How do you feel inside? What is peace of mind? How much can you touch it, metaphorically? How delightful is that relaxation of the mind we call peace. As we move out back to our bodies, when you become aware of your body in which you've been sitting, often the body feels so incredibly at peace, relaxed, free. It's not been moving, it's so comfortable. As you prepare yourself to come out from the meditation, I will ring the gong 3 times as is usual. And please wait until the last ringing of the gong starts to disappear before you open your eyes to end the meditation. At the last ring of the 3 rings of the gong. And out of kindness to the monk sitting in front of you, when you open your eyes, please smile. Makes me feel happy. Thank you.